Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We are going to talk about a very interesting topic today and with a very, very inspiring guest. But before that, I am Shreya Prakash. I'm the co founder and CEO of FlexiBees. FlexiBees is a vetted talent platform for part time, project based, and remote work where businesses can hire experienced talent in an affordable and agile way and qualified women professionals can balance their personal and professional priorities. Now, getting to the topic at hand. So, today we are going to talk about actually, it's on the occasion of Women Entrepreneurship Day, which is tomorrow, the 19th of November. And today we are going to talk with Nisha Dutt, who's the co founder of Decodem, and she happens to be a woman. Uh, and she has a very interesting and inspiring story, which is why we are talking with her. It's about her journey from Deloitte to Decodem and how it's been a journey of taking chances and various kinds of leaps of faith and how that's worked out for her. So welcome, Nisha. Happy to have you on the chat.
Hi, Shreya. Happy to be here.
Okay, amazing. And just a little bit of a background on Decodem. Of course, we'll talk more with Nisha and find out more. So, Decodem is a Bangalore based SaaS platform that helps individuals and employees and companies, I suppose, unearth customized micro insights at the click of a button. And it's very interesting and deep and live kind of insights, which they are able to unearth very, very quickly through Google search trends and many other sources. And of course, Nisha can talk to us more about it. So, Nisha, welcome. And let me get to the point right away. We have 30 minutes for our chat, and then we'll take
Mhm.
some questions for the next 10 minutes. So, yes, let's start. So, your journey Deloitte to Decodem, and of course, feel free to talk about anything that came before Deloitte and how it shaped, your story. How has that journey been? Please take us through it.
The professional journey itself actually started much before Deloitte. But by the time I came to Deloitte, I think that was it was a conscious leap because I was with industry, right? I was in the aerospace industry with Cessna, and I
Hmm.
wanted to kind of do something different. And so always, when you're younger, you are a little enamored with this whole consulting lifestyle. So that was another part of the appeal. So I thought that I should try my hand at consulting and not just be an industry person. Also, it gives you a lot of wide exposure into different things. So that was the motivation. I jumped into Deloitte. This was all back in the US. I was in San Francisco. Um, so I was with Deloitte, and then it was a great learning experience because consulting really puts you through the grind, right? Like nothing else,
Yeah.
actually. So it was fun, actually. I was learning, I was working on different kinds of projects. But then, during that journey, a decision happened where I decided to come back to India, actually. So I always wanted to come back to India. And so when I decided to come back to India, one of the things that I thought about was that I should work on things that would be uniquely, I
Hmm.
would be positioned to do only in India. Something like consulting or working with larger organizations, you could actually do it anywhere, right? I mean, you don't necessarily need to be in India to do that. So that was one of the factors that was kind of weighing on my mind to see that if I could do something that I could have done only in India, not, let's say, sitting back in the US. So after I made the move, IntelliCap just happened actually to me, where they reached out to me and a sort of convergence happened, right? Because they were looking for skills that I had, and I was looking for to do something which was very meaningful to me from at that point. And that sort of convergence happened, but honestly speaking, I didn't understand the space at all. So when IntelliCap spoke to me, I remember in interview that I couldn't even follow them, half the time what they were saying to me. So they were using words that I just, they were not a part of my lexicon. So
Hmm.
um, and yet I decided to do it because I thought that this sounds interesting. This sounds like something that I could learn. This sounds something where I could make an impact. So, and it's very India specific,
Hmm.
development, private sector development, and so I got into it, and I thought I'm just going to put my head down and learn new things. And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up working on things in like water and sanitation to tuberculosis and like very unique problems, right? So it was all very exciting. And before I knew, 10 years, almost 10 years had gone by actually, just doing this stuff. So I would think of Intellicap actually as my first entrepreneurial journey, because when I
Mm.
joined, it was a much smaller organization than where I was coming from. I and the leap of faith, happened in multiple ways. I was getting into an area which actually I wasn't familiar with at all, and I took a huge pay cut actually to do that. But I thought, I'm just going to do this because I like it. And I think
Mm.
over a period of time, what I realized was I actually made up for everything that, all the decisions that I thought were setbacks, I actually more than made up for it towards the end.
Right.
And because I was liking what I was doing, I kind of made it all the way to the top. I became CEO. I was there for a few years. I was leading their advisory practice. And then, this again, the itch started that now you are here, now what?
Mm.
um, that's always been a constant theme in my life. So then I got there, and one of the things that I had always thought about doing was, something with data. And that's, this whole AI revolution was happening just about at that time, and I always thought that I felt like a spectator. I'm seeing it from the outside. I know there is potential. I could do something with it, but what? So that kind of, in Intellicap also, I sort of experimented a lot and, kind of launched some initiatives that were around this area, but not quite. It wasn't quite what I wanted to do. Um,
Mm.
so then I thought that, this is a good time to sort of leave where I am. And I am young enough and old enough, at the same time, in the sense that I have enough experience, but not very old. So let's just
Yeah.
take a chance and get out there and see if we can do something, which is more data analytics oriented. Because that idea was already there in my mind. And that's when, I sort of chanced upon, discussing this with now my co-founder, Harsha. And we thought that, okay, let's give this a shot. What do you have to lose, right? Maybe we'll build something fantastic. Maybe we'll enjoy the journey. So again, I left something which I didn't have to necessarily leave and, get into this. So I think it's always been like that for me. I always
Mm.
think that, you have to take chances. You have to put yourself a little out there. And anytime you think that you know a lot, I think you have to start something new. And you suddenly realize how much it is that you don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
think the time I started Decodem, I have like realized there are so many things I actually don't know. So it's been kind of it's been fun. Every time I feel that I know something, I realize actually there's a lot that I don't. So
Yeah.
it's been that's been the fun actually.
Yeah. No, amazing. So, just to sort of emphasize and call out the points at your journey for our listeners. So, from Deloitte, you moved to Intellicap Advisory, and that was a double whammy of a move because you had moved countries, and then you entirely moved, sectors and
Yeah.
companies, and everything changed, right? From an established company to something that
Mhm.
was, just starting out,
Yeah.
and in a space where you said that some of the terminologies were also not familiar,
Yeah.
let alone the work. So that was a huge move. And then at the top of the game, and when you build the company along with your team, and it reached a position of becoming a little bit more established and at the top of the game, and so very modest of you to say that you became the CEO because you were liking what you did, which of course is a huge part of it, but also because you were damn good at it. And from from the CEO, that at that position, you decided, to do something entirely different again, and move into a space which was interesting to you. And of course, it was interesting, and this is very interesting to me for this conversation, that it was interesting to you because you knew relatively less about it. And I think that a lot of that goes, to how entrepreneurs are and what motivates them, and we'll talk about that. And from there, from the CEO, of course, an equally meaty role as the co-founder of Decodem, but very different in many ways. And that's where you are right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. It's
Yeah, because
nothing short of, oh
I mean, I'm not even a technical person, Harsha is the technical one. I'm not even a technical person. So for me to take this kind of leap is a little bit foolish, I might say. But yeah, it's been, I guess I found a way to maybe use my skill set here as well. So, and learn
yeah,
a more along the
yeah.
way. So,
Yeah, no, of course, of course. So, just, double clicking on some of these things that you already mentioned, the motivations behind making these kind of
mhm.
changes. What were some of those? What were your motivations behind making these leaps?
I think one is, I've always liked this thing. There's this poem by Mary Oliver, and I always like the first two lines that tell me what is it that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life. So, and that's,
Yeah.
somewhere stuck with me because I always feel that maybe for me it is, a learning. For me, it is, knowing the limits of what I can do
Mm,
and just put yourself out there. And I also feel that success to us is very limited. We become very limited in our definition of success sometimes because
mm,
success is not just getting to the top of a totem pole and then sitting there, right? I mean, it's not
yeah.
that. That is one kind of success.
Mm,
Success is also the ability to just chase what you like, and if you can
mm,
chase your passion for a few years, then I would consider myself a very successful individual when I look back. So for me, motivation has always been to try new things and identify where your limits are. What is it that you can do or cannot do? So
mm,
I don't get weighed down by the fact that
mm,
you are somewhere now. You are just another entrepreneur. I mean, I kind of don't process life like that at all because I feel
mm,
I'm getting to do what I like, and very
yeah.
few people get the opportunity to do that. So,
Yeah.
so that's really success. So
Yeah, and in the long term, I mean, it is about when you look back at all the skills that you learned, which you wouldn't have,
you wouldn't
or
actually.
you wouldn't have had stayed in that confined environment, say of Deloitte or even in Telecap,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because every
So
organization boxes you. I mean, at the end of it, whether I mean, there is learning, but it's a different kind of learning, right? It's a box learning. It's in a certain direction. It's only when you
mm,
change or steer a little bit, you learn something which is dramatically different.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so that
and
itself
I
is
find, yeah, sorry.
no, no. I was saying that itself is a good motivation for me, at least as an individual, to put myself out there. So,
Yeah. And I find that this for me is very core to how entrepreneurs are. Because entrepreneurs, typically they have to work in an environment that they don't know much about. There
agree.
is an idea, there is a vision, there is conviction. Of course, there is also doubt. There is uncertainty, and entrepreneurs have to keep pushing against that uncertainty. Keep pushing themselves to learn things that they didn't know earlier, and it's
Mhm.
very, I think, core to the entrepreneur's DNA
DNA.
to be very comfortable with learning, very comfortable. And when you say that I love to learn, I think what people sometimes don't process is that if that means that you are at a place where you know less. It's
We need
only
a
when you
rest.
know less is when there will be learning.
There is
So
a
to be
learning.
comfortable with knowing less than others in the room, and especially coming from a background where you knew a lot,
Correct.
where there was, yeah, there
Where
was
people
that
are
comfort.
looking up to you for guidance, and then
Yeah,
suddenly you come into an environment where you're literally like deers in the headlights, right? You're sometimes you just don't know what's happening.
yeah,
So that itself is humbling, actually. So
yeah. No, that's amazing. And I remember that when I started FlexiBees with, of course, Deepa and Rashmi, my co-founders at that time. It sounds a little silly, but I was with Unilever, and one of the triggers, of course, the
mhm.
motivations are long term and deep and all that. But one of the triggers was the speech that I heard from Steve Jobs, the Stanford 2005 commencement address, and there was so much in that speech about not being too weighed down by these notions of success, these labels, because at the end of the day, none of them will,
Will
we won't get any of those with us. So it's important to kind of chase what you want to do and live the life that you want to live.
what we
So
want.
yeah, I completely resonate with this, and I think it's very core to the entrepreneurial experience as well. But it's
As
not
well.
easy, right? It's not easy. I mean, of course, we romanticize this whole thing of taking a leap, taking a chance, but during the journey, and we talk about entrepreneurs as having this sort of rock solid, monolithic kind of
Yeah,
conviction.
yeah.
But conviction is, there are two elements to conviction. One is something deep you carry in your heart, and the other, of course, is shaped by the environment around. So
Correct.
living in uncertainty or living with uncertainty is not easy. So what
Sorry.
have been some of your coping mechanisms or mental frameworks to deal with that?
I think they say that, and I really truly believe that you shouldn't believe everything you think. So because entrepreneurs have this great ability to paint themselves, overthink and paint ourselves in corners which haven't happened actually, events that haven't happened. We have this great ability to already think of all the scenarios that are never going to play out in real life. So I think one of the things for me is truly take each day as it comes, and be kind of enjoy the journey, right? I mean, we don't know what, I mean, even with what I'm doing right now, we don't know whether it's how good it's going to be, how successful it's going to be. But is it going to be enriching? Is it going to make you a better professional and a better person? Maybe that's what you also need to kind of focus on, not just focus on the scenario. So I think somewhere that's been kind of useful to me. The other thing is that I always keep it mentally, I keep things low stake, so.
Mhm.
And when I say that, what I mean is that I don't think of it as if this doesn't work, I am doomed. Well, what
Mhm.
else will I do? Will anybody hire me? I never go to those places mentally. I always feel that, we'll cross the bridge when we get to it, you
Yeah.
know. So I think for me, that is really that form of thinking is very helpful, because I feel that I'm here now. I need to do the best I can right now.
Mhm.
If that eventuality happens, then we'll think about it then. I mean, we don't need to already paint ourselves in that corner. So I think
Yeah.
those things have kind of kept me a little sane. And also I think remembering the purpose, right? Every once in a while, when you are feeling a little down, to remember why you
Yeah.
got into it in the first place,
Yeah.
sort of keeps you a little centered sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's how I cope with all the uncertainty and all that. I try and let it not get to me. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
do you
So
think?
you keep an emotional distance from
Yeah.
the outcome, while of course being very invested in one way. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
a
so
certain level of focus.
for me, that works best. For a person that I am, that works
Mhm.
best. I can't be, because I feel I can't perform if I get very like I
Mhm.
if I get stressed, and I can't really work well. So,
Yeah.
so for me, it's very important to keep it away, and think of it as let's do our best right now. We'll
Yeah.
get cross the bridges when we get to them. Let's
Yeah.
keep our unity around it.
Yeah. So, and that's great life, advice as well, because of course, worry kind of,
Yeah,
can consume us in many ways. And, if you can't do anything about it, or if it's not even happened yet, it's,
correct.
that so
Actually,
there
like
is,
90% of the scenarios won't play out. So
yeah,
everything is so, but we have
yeah,
kind of felt the misery of it mentally. So I try
yeah.
not to go. So
Exactly, exactly. And in this conversation, you said something about what is the worst that can happen, and that too I found very liberating.
yeah,
So is that
that to me is important, because I feel that look, Shreya, with our education, with our background, with our exposure, if we are going to worry about, I mean, we are, so much more fortunate than so many other people, right? And if
Mm,
we start getting into this,
yeah,
insecurities and misery, right? That
yeah,
what will happen? What's the worst that can happen? You will start over. So what?
yeah,
You would have done some things, right? I mean, you will take all that, put it together, and then you will start over. So it's okay. I
yeah,
mean, nothing is lost. All is not lost in world.
yeah.
So I think that somewhere, that its perspective is important.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And today we live in a world where various different kinds of skills kind of converge in
Correct. Otherwise,
unprecedented ways to create new skill sets. Which we hadn't thought of. So careers are not like a single track
correct.
road anymore that you need to keep running on. You can build a very rich career while having taken a few detours, and even if the current paths don't work out. And like you
Don't
said,
work.
with the kind of privilege that we've had. Yes,
Yeah, correct. So,
amazing. So, what have been some of the positives of taking these, chances that you feel that wouldn't have come your way had you not?
I think I think of it only in terms of positives. I think one thing is I got to live very different lives, almost like you live like when I was with the Telecap, I traveled a lot to rural India. It took me to corners that otherwise I would have never gone. But it really did take me stretch my limits, which was very rewarding in itself to see how people live, how people cope, and in it helped me give perspective actually about my life as well. And I think more importantly, when you take chances, you meet serendipity happens. You meet such fantastic people. I mean, I got to meet such great people. I mean, I'm really thankful, for that. That I got to learn, I got to interact, I got into spaces where otherwise would have never
Yeah.
been accessible to me. And it opened my mind, right? It just opened my mind into possibilities. And I felt, that's a core of exposure, right? Somewhere when we
Mm,
also talk about kids getting
mm,
exposure, I think
mm,
that's also an exposure. And our exposure happens like this. When you put
mm.
ourselves out there, you take chances, you put yourself in
Yeah.
situations tough sometimes, but it's amazing, the kind of people and cultures and things that I got to see. I think it's been hugely enriching to me. And I
Mm,
always feel that, I have stories to tell. Otherwise, how would I have stories to tell? So I have so many stories to tell, and that itself is like, it's been amazing actually.
yeah.
The only
Yeah.
good things about it, honestly. Yeah, there are, times when you will question your decision, but those are very brief moments. I mean, I think net it's like been so good. So,
Yeah. Okay, great. And do you want to talk a little bit about Decodem and what you guys do, you and Harsha at Decodem?
So, Decodem, what we are trying to build is like building on the background that Harsha and I have, because I was in advisory for a long time. One of the white spaces or the gaps that I noticed was that a lot of it is very secondary research based, where an analyst is actually reading a bunch of reports and then trying to kind of get the crux of it and presenting it to the client, right? And with so many data trails being left every day, we felt that there is this whole wealth of information that never gets processed into any meaningful
Mm,
insight. um, and that's what we set out to build. It's almost like an insights pilot for CEOs, CXOs, and all that. That anyone who's trying to make a decision. And one of the things that we learned was that you have to give micro decisions to people. I mean, people are looking for things. For instance, where should I start my next training center? Blockchain training center. That's the insight person needs, not what the
mm.
blockchain industry is about. Sometimes
Right.
the advice
Yeah.
in that. And can we kind of pinpoint along with data? Can we give people exactly that? Very micro, very automated, on the go, and everything that we do comes to you within less than 5 minutes. So
Mm.
that's a platform we have set out to build, in Insights Copilot, Insights on the go. Can we, and we kind of, want to make it very ubiquitous. So you should be able to access it through Slack, through Telegram, wherever you are. You don't need to
Right.
leave your work environment. So
Right.
that's what I'm actually here. And it's been fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I was reading about it, and I think at last count, your platform has been used by 180 plus organizations.
Yeah.
And given that you guys are a relatively young company, it's been what, 7, 8 months?
Yeah, so we kind of are 2 years old, but our actually the product itself got launched only
Ah,
7 8 months. So
the
because
platform.
platform itself, because COVID happened, and so that created a lot of slowdown. But platform itself happened around 7 to 8 months. So within that, the usage has been good, and
Hmm.
we are also learning from our clients. What is it that they like and what is it that they don't like,
Hmm.
because you are building it with limited resources, right? So you have to be
Yeah.
very focused, unlike in companies and corporates where you can be a little bit more wasteful, I guess. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's a skill that entrepreneurship teaches you to be extremely frugal.
yes,
In the-
not to be wasteful.
yeah, very,
Even
very.
I learned. So
Yeah. Now changing tax completely, since we are talking about women entrepreneurship here, and we are talking at a day before on the occasion of Women Entrepreneurship Day.
mhm.
Um, are there any intersections, with being a woman in your journey, or has that identity been, completely separate and agnostic to your journey?
Usually, Shreya, I have not been very gendered in my approach, honestly, and I shouldn't. If I look at my journey, it would be, not. It would be wrong for me to say that I suffered a lot of setbacks because I was a woman. Actually, that didn't happen to me, honestly speaking.
Mm.
But what I have realized through this, all, when I switched tracks, is that women do end up, I mean. I guess it happened, in the convergence of COVID because we were forced to be home. There is family, there's kids, all that. So that's when I realized that the number of balls you have to keep up in air are way too many compared to men. So the journey can be harder. There is no doubt. I mean, I hadn't experienced this honestly earlier. I did. Now, recently, in recent times, I did. Just the number of pressures and the things that are asking for your time can be
Mm.
way. It's not just family and kids. Sometimes your own me time and leisure time, right? I mean, everything goes
Yeah.
out of times. And I feel that when something's gotta give, sometime mostly women give in. So
Yeah.
I think that it has happened to me recently, and it's also been a little refreshing for me to understand, the pain from other women's point of view. That because I always heard it during my career, this narrative, women have it harder, and I
Mm.
never really kind of felt that women had it. I mean, yes, it can be harder, but I never thought that that was a huge barrier. But I mean, off late, I feel that I can see why people say that. I started, I've experienced some pockets myself where I felt that yes, why do we have it harder? But then I also feel that the best thing is that women can do is not give in to the pressure. And
Mm.
one of the things that I always feel is that guilt is such a useless emotion. Actually, it's one of the most useless emotions out there. Keep that at home. Keep that at bay.
Yeah.
Um, have a sense of humor, of all the societal expectations and cultural expectations. You should have a sense of humor about it, which means that you can laugh at it and then keep pressing on to things that you need to do. So you need to be, just keep that in mind. Don't get too pressured about all this.
Yeah.
Expectations are different. We do have it harder, but you don't have to necessarily always give in. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And you have two young kids now,
yeah,
isn't that
yeah. I
right?
have toddlers actually. I have twin toddlers, which is kind of a not the best scenario, not anybody's easy scenario. It's been even more challenging actually, especially during COVID. I mean, taking care of them, taking care of work. So it's been, yeah, and then you sometimes have aging parents at home. So um,
Yeah.
that's an additional dimension. But I think that what you do is you build your sort of moats in terms of what's your time versus, and I
Mm.
think also you need to build a support system, right? I mean, to the
Yeah.
extent whatever extent you can, you have to lean on people, you have to ask for help, and you have to be explicit about it. Wherever you
Yeah.
need help, you must build your systems around you.
Yeah.
I feel that, you shouldn't. I mean, I don't feel that I'm the Hanuman and I have to carry this whole load on my shoulders. I never feel the need to do that. And you
Yeah.
should, ask for help, get people to pitch in. There are people around you. Ask your husband, significant others, boyfriends to pitch in. Do this. So, yeah, I mean, you are
I mean,
important.
significant. Yeah. No, no, absolutely. And significant others, hopefully it reaches a stage where, they don't have to be asked to pitch in. But,
Yes.
sadly,
Yeah.
that is the situation in, across the world, I think. It's not even an India
Yeah, it's
specific.
across the world and maybe a little bit more acute in India. So, where they are
Yeah.
coddled so much. So I think somewhere you have to kind of be explicit about it and just ask what you need. So I think yeah, I mean, start when we say right, women need to learn how to ask for their things. Start at home. So
Mhm.
start.
Yeah.
So,
No, great, great advice for women entrepreneurs also. And it's important for women entrepreneurs, any of them listening, to know that you're not alone. I mean, I think women do, like you said, have, a lot of balls in the air. And I think the thing about not feeling guilty, which is perhaps not exactly possible to not feel a certain emotion if you do feel it, but to sort of then, be okay with it, make your peace with it, move on.
yeah, more
You
business.
one can't really have it all. That's I think an important learning that I had. When I started to realize that I am not
Mm,
ungendered, because a lot of us have grown up like that. Our families and backgrounds, we've been privileged enough. Speaking
correct.
for you and me over here, of course, we are a very small proportion of say women, very privileged in that sense, where we haven't been made aware of our gender while growing up, but then as you reach certain milestones in your life, you do become painfully aware. Some of those things.
It comes with stares at you in face. Oh yeah, of course. I am expected to do this. This is the expectation.
Yeah,
That's kind of
correct. Yeah. And now, from your journey, if you had to talk about, or if you had to leave us with two,
Mhm.
pieces of advice for entrepreneurs in general, what would
Yeah.
those be?
I think first I would say, be willing to take chances, be willing to walk away from things that cease to make sense to you, that don't align with the mental model you have for your life, right? I feel that at some point, all of us have a mental model, right? That I want to live a certain kind of life.
Yeah.
So if there are things that don't align with you, whether you are in at job right now or on the journey, entrepreneurship journey, you have to be willing to walk away from it. I think the other thing which is very important is that you have to own your journey. And when I say you own your journey, is we are invariably comparing ourselves to other entrepreneurs. We are always
Yeah.
invariable comparisons. How much did that company raise? What was their
Mhm.
valuation? They can never really break free out of this, right? It's almost like, so I feel that you have to own your journey, and you have to remember that everyone is on a different journey. Everyone's going to make different choices, which will lead them to different paths. Yours is going to be unique to you, right? Um, so hopefully, as entrepreneurs, we can remember that there is a very small percentage of people that get to even do what we are doing, in the sense of
Yeah.
chase our passion, getting time to actually build something that we truly like. So if you can remember that, then I think that itself is a reward in itself. You have to remember that you are already privileged, you are already unique, you are already doing something that 99% of the population, or even higher, is not
Yeah.
doing. So always
Yeah.
remember that, and kind of don't get into very unnecessary comparisons. Be willing to take a chance. Yeah, so kya hua? So
Yeah.
always have. And I think second one, primarily for women, I feel you have to hang out with women that you like. You have to hang out more with women you admire. And I feel that you have to build those networks, because
Yeah.
more than any other time, in history, we are at an opportunity. We are at a time where we can pull a lot of women into this movement, that's
Mm.
happening. And
Mm.
I feel that we can, build this virtuous cycle. So I always feel that you have to, like, I always think of it, help a girl out whenever you can. So
Mm.
it means that you
Yeah.
can help another person,
Yeah.
please do it, because this will create a virtuous cycle. We need our
Yeah.
tribe, right? We need our tribe, we need our community, and I feel more than
Yeah.
ever our time has come. So
Yeah.
um there are, world already has too many men entrepreneurs. I mean, we are there. So I feel that get out there, help each other out, I mean, build a tribe around it. It will be great, if there are so many more of us doing this. So
Yeah, so well said, so well said. And on Women's Entrepreneurship Day, that is so pertinent because we have less than 14% women entrepreneurs even today in India. So yeah, and the network point as well, because I think that's something that women actually start out from a place of not having because of
yes.
various societal factors. So yeah, it's very important. I think networking in recent times has shed some of the stigma that it used to have, and I
Yeah.
think for women, especially, it's very, very important to intentionally go out and network and build connections.
And also
Yes,
help each other out, right? I mean,
yes,
if you know someone in an industry, someone is asking you for help, please pick the phone and call. So,
yeah,
a good turn gets another. So,
yes,
just help a girl out, yeah. Maybe, it'll come back to you. So, all of
yeah,
us have been helped by people in our life, right? So,
yeah.
pay it forward. So, and build that network.
Amazing, amazing. Very, very, actionable and inspiring words to, sort of end the conversation with. And yeah, we have a question from Sanjana. How can more women become entrepreneurs? Any advice to those who are thinking about it?
Take the plunge, actually. I think the only way to become an entrepreneur is to take the plunge finally, right? So, and like I said, keep it low stakes, right? I mean, don't think that this is it or it's nothing. Just get out there, try a few things. If you're passionate about an idea, go try and build it for a few years. um, like, I always tell people that if you are going to live even for 70 years, and if you spent 3 years doing something that you really loved, even if it didn't work, what did you lose in your life? It's not even
Yeah,
10% of life. So don't get
yeah,
into those stigmas. Get out there, meet people, build your ideas. See, it could take you to, very different places. It could be
yeah,
both professionally and financially very rewarding, actually. So
yeah. Great. And we have another question from Sinduri. Everything that's spoken in this conversation between you two is indeed insightful and absolutely shows the entrepreneurial dimension of looking and assuming things of life. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Sinduri. Yeah, Nisha's journey, of course, for our listeners was very inspiring to me. When we had the chat, Nisha, I could actually resonate with everything that you said.
no,
The
everything. I've
entrepreneur.
been following yours too. It's been so interesting, actually. You also made the same plunge, right, from larger company into this. So it's kind of similar in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I could absolutely relate to it, and I feel lucky every day to be able to have this opportunity and the privilege of being able to take this plunge. And of course, there is both an external, internal dimension to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love the life that I'm living at times, and many times it's not perfect, as lives tend to be. but it's still amazing, and I'm happy I took the leap that I did.
Yeah, I mean, we are living what we wanted to, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a good thing. I
yeah.
mean, it's
Great. Thank
productive.
you so much, Nisha. Sorry.
No, that's all. So, but it's been great actually chatting with you. I haven't chatted about these topics in a while actually. So it's good to
Yeah.
exchange. Again, good to build network, even like this.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Exactly. Exactly. To hang out with women that we like, that's the core of networking. Of course, you network with folks that you
yeah,
end up, I guess, you like, and end up liking them because you end up
like
knowing more about. Great. Thank you, Nisha, for coming to our webinar and for talking to us about your journey. It's been very inspiring. And while we did it for Women's Entrepreneurship Day, we wanted to bring a woman's story, but these are timeless and gender agnostic insights, of course.
yeah.
Which a lot of entrepreneurs, aspirants, as well as those who are in the journey will doubtless take a lot of inspiration from. So thank you so much. And
No, thanks so much for
thank you
having
so
me. It's been really good and fun. So
much. Great. Thank you.
really,
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for
bye.
listening. Bye.